If a smooth 100K dropped in your lap, no taxes, no questions, with the losses you've had before, what would you do with the money? And would you spend it all to fix any issues, or would you invest most of it? I would first look at what's relevant to get gone out of my debt. I wouldn't put that money into this house yet. I wouldn't put the money into any, like, into too many things. I would keep my routine of, like, I'd catch up all of the Bane debt that I have and probably pay off. I'd probably pay off my car to get that out of the way and just catch my bills up. I'd put aside probably 12 months worth of expenses. So I'd probably cut it in half, and I'd take 50, and all of that would be like emergency fund, 12 months of expenses, just with the frugal living I have now, which probably wouldn't be it probably wouldn't even need that much. And I'd probably pay off my car as well, which I still owe like 24. I'm gonna do the math on this right now because I still owe like 24 bands on that bitch. I would do that. And then, like, if I was just gonna generalize, like, let's say my expenses in a month were two for me right now. Like, if I paid my car off, I would say my expenses in the month might be around, and I'm overshooting this. I live on a lot less than this, but probably $2,000 a month. I'd factor in, like, so 12 times 2, it's about 24,000. So about half of it's already gone, and then, like, there's about 2,000 left from that 50 that I just added up. So that would be like my emergency fund. So that's what I do with the first 50, because, like, those are the main things that hold me down from, like, like, things I have to pay, and those hold me hostage a little bit more. And even if I were to go make more active type of income in any other type of way, not having any debt or monthly payments lets me start adding money to the pool of whatever I'm going to invest in. So I'd probably take the other 50. I would go get I would probably wait for the real estate market to crash, for housing prices to drop, and then I'd go get an FHA on my first rental property and get a duplex, triplex, or quadplex. And that's going to be a long-term game. So that's, like, let's say that that's going to take like half of the 50. So with my other 25, my goal to take that last 25 would be, I need to either start a business or buy into having ownership, or take over buying a business with a down payment, because I need to get some asset that is getting more scalable active income to offset my expenses. Because when that offsets my expenses well enough, the 12 months of expenses I have, the closer I get to that, lets me actually take that and then reinvest that into whatever I have going on. And the goal to get from the 100 at that point within the next 12 to 24 months to a million is going to be in the one of these few places. Because, like, having business with active income, whatever it is, because you can always get out of it. You can sell it, get your profits. You could hold on to it for a year or two. And then same thing with the other stuff. Like the real estate property, because having the tenants in there, they're paying the mortgage and you're getting a small amount of profit on it. So we're going to have to spend the time for that to get 70% of the cash value paid off of the mortgage, so that I can borrow against the house again and take all that equity out, which is probably going to be, let's say I I calculated I was doing 25 down, so let's say that is worth 250K, and then I'm taking 70% of 250K. So, whoa, I did my fucking math wrong. Well, no, actually times 0.3. Whoa. That's 30%. I need to make sure I had my numbers right on this. Hold on. 0.03. My bad. No, that's not even 10K actually. So I actually overestimated the FHA loan. But I would still double that as a cool like 15K instead. And then on my 200 or maybe $300,000, $350,000 property, I'll up the number since I still had that expense, times 0.70. So I'm gonna pull out around 245,000 from that property, and that's liquid with no taxes, nothing. And that right there is what you're trying to do. Is you want cash and to start getting into the process of your taxes. Because after you get past that, like 250, really after the 500K mark, in assets or in liquid cash, you're going to want to start learning tax loops and tax breaks and knowing how, like, that's going to get into a whole different thing. But I'd take that, I would just wait to get 70% of the value out of that one property that I had, and I'm going to be able to take 250 and I can go buy another property outright. Like I could go buy 150, 200K property, and then I could go put the rest of that on a down payment on another property for more debt. And then I could have one property where all the income coming in from that one place is just money in my pockets. But residential real estate is like, you want to get out of it. I would build my portfolio in residential up to a point where it made sense, because at some point then I would probably try to converse that over towards getting into commercial, because commercial is an entirely different game. I mean, we live in an age of information. I feel like the only reason why you would do that is if you just really didn't want to spend the time. But if I was in that same position, I would actually go read the tax code myself. I would understand how all of the laws around the different tax codes operate. And there are people who have content like that they put on YouTube all the time. I would just YouTube and AI my way through that for the most part. Like, there really wouldn't be any reason to. I wouldn't use a stockbroker either, because like I already know the stock market, if I wanted to put it in the safest way, is making 10% a year. So whatever I'm putting it in has to either have greater returns than that anyway, which some aspects of real estate are kind of iffy on that middle line regardless. But we're talking about building wealth and getting still to the point that matters the most. And real estate gives you better tax breaks, also gives you more access to liquidity, because when you're doing stocks and you're investing in any form of stocks, that stuff is not as liquid. You have capital gains tax, you have all kinds of stuff. If you buy it, you really aren't even going to be wanting to fuck with it or take it out. You can borrow against it through certain means, but like you're going to want to have a lot in that portfolio before borrowing against it makes any sense. It's just not really, it just doesn't even matter. And remember, the whole point of like tax breaks or tax loops or whatever else it is, the whole point of that is so that when you look at balancing on the sheet how much you would have to give to the government, you're just trying to not give the money to the government. That's pretty much it. And so all that takes is just knowing what you can put expenses on and what you can write off and what you can add depreciation on. Because when you have that property that you financed, like there's a depreciation that comes with putting that now on your taxes and all the other kinds of stuff. And like until you are making over $500,000 anyway, most tax breaks don't matter. You're not at that place where you have the capital to utilize the tax breaks. And even if you have, Some cat like even a $250,000, you still just aren't at that threshold where looking at the landscape of your assets, to your liabilities and everything else, to your expenses, income, you're still not going to have enough quite yet for you to start rolling over into the appropriate tax breaks. Like for instance, I'm gonna do this off of pure memory recall because I actually watched one of those like tax expert guys come on, and Earn Your Leisure, which is like a finance podcast I've watched for quite a long time, and he was just giving some sauce, and I was just kind of listening to it because like I mean I always like to understand more of like what the game is for the wealthy, and you know how they're operating, and like that's what I mean. Like there are people who make so much content around that stuff. Why would I need to go hire somebody? Same thing for, you know, stocks or whatever. Like stocks don't even matter until you have millions of dollars. They don't matter at all, and taxes almost still the same way until you have enough. So it's not necessarily bad to cut people into the pie if you don't want to take on that labor. I think that's more answering the question. Like, but somebody there, you know, another person is still liable to the advice that they can even attempt to to give you. There, you know, no, some people may be quote unquote experts or whatever you're going to call it, but that doesn't mean that they always know everything or they have the best advice. Yeah, and so it's like they give a lot of the sauce for all that kind of stuff as well. So it's like I would just we have AI too. Like I don't necessarily need to hire anybody for some shit. Like if I have all my information and I have it in a Google Doc, I have whatever the fuck I need and I know how to do it. Like